All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Rollins Reviews YouTube channel. As you can see, Mr. Spellman is live. Hello, Chef. Fine as wine. Okay. Hello, everyone in the chat. Mr. Spellman's trying to unmute his mic.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
All right. So everyone's coming into. How you doing, Gina Thorne? Chef Fine as Wine. Welcome everyone. They're coming into the chat section now. So uh, those of you who've been following the channel, you know I've visited the Spellman House, um, also known as Back to Eden. And the history of that particular property was that it was formerly a slave plantation. And so, Mr. Spellman, how you doing, Kiki? Mr. Spellman purchased the property. So today, Mr. Spellman is going to tell you a little bit about himself, his history, and he's also going to share some information. How you doing, Lola? About the property. And you guys, as you always do, I know you'll be asking questions in the chat section. So, Mr. Spellman is here to answer the questions. How you doing, Rhonda? Folks, please share this out on your various. How you doing, Joyce? Various forms of social media, and let's join the conversation. Okay, so let's welcome Mr. Spellman because he has a lot to share with us. How you doing, Spiky? All right. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. We were just waiting. Everyone wanted to hear what you had to say because they've been following the videos. So
Okay.
now is your time to share the information, and I'll be reading the questions that are in the chat section.
Oh,
Okay. So you have the floor.
outstanding. I first of all, I just thank God for being able to discover uh, this this site, the grave site,
Yes.
the uh, the plantation, and the big house as they called it. And
Right.
when I initially purchased the property, I didn't know that it was that much history
Right.
involved in the property. I bought 2.5 acres on Satterwhite Point Road in
Uh-oh. Looks like Mrs. Spellman has lost connection, so we'll just keep on going. Um, Daniel's here. How you doing, Dan? Here, he's back. All right. Good to know I'm not the only person who has internet issues. So again, if you guys haven't been following the videos, so I went to his property last Saturday. I also went to his property yesterday because I had a little snafu, a little technical difficulties with the original live video from
okay.
last Saturday. How you doing today? All right, looks like Mr. Spellman is back. How you doing, Ike? All right, so are you ready to continue?
Yes, yes.
All
I,
right.
I initially bought 2.5 acres uh,
Okay.
of land,
Right.
and uh, all I wanted was I wanted an acre, and I wanted chickens, and I wanted to grow my own garden and possibly have a pond. And
Right.
uh, when I bought the inside, the outside of the house was immaculate, and this was the first house that I bought, not the plantation house.
Right.
And but the inside dated, uh, the bathrooms, the kitchen. So when I came to the property, I saw the storage, and I own a construction company. So I always need room for tools, supplies, and I was sold on the house, and I was initially advertised as an acre and a half, but
Initially, it was.
initially it
Oh
was
wow.
accurate because there were 6 plots that the family owned right here, and the brothers, it was brothers that owned it, so they had fences up in different areas, and it's my brother, so I'll put my fence, 10 feet over this. That was what had happened over the
Right.
years. One of the things that I'll touch on is that the family that I bought the initial from owned had 135 acres of tobacco land. And I didn't know this at the time either, but all the property in the surrounding area, including a path that was going right through 85, Highway
185.
They own that.
Mrs. Spellman, I
Yeah.
think you're breaking up a bit. You may have to go out and come back in because you're buffering a bit.
Am I still breaking up?
That's right. That you sounded clear there.
Okay. How about now?
That's better.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the family owned 135. This I found out. But
You started again.
Is it happening again? I'm getting these pop up, and I don't know. I don't know how to alleviate them. Get these notifications, but
You
that's
have to. Okay, go ahead. We'll see if we can hear you.
okay. How about now?
Go ahead.
So like I said, the family owned 135 acres of land, and I bought this 1.5 acre. But right before we closed, the day before we closed, the real estate agent said, "Hey, there's another acre that goes with that. The piece of property beside it is yours." So
Right.
what I thought was 1.5 acres ended up being 2.5 acres of the same property.
Right.
Now, after I purchased it, I remodeled the initial house, and I put a place for my grandchildren, my granddaughters to grow up and have fun. So I built a big tree house that I promised that I would build. I put zip lines on it, I put a nature trail through, dug a pond, stocked it with fish, put ducks and geese in it. And the community started rallying around the fact that this was a place where their kids and grandkids could come out and have fun. I started allowing to have birthday parties here and outings, church outings. So I continued to add swing sets, ninja courts, that sort. Go karts, mini bikes, 4-wheelers. it just got contagious that it was a fun. This was before I even found out about the other part of the property, and the 4 belonged to the family that I bought this 2 acres. The lady that lived in the house, was 97 years old, July 2021. Her sons came to take her back to Arizona. They had never lived in the house. She had been there, but her husband's family, the Worthams,
Right.
owned the land since the 1800s.
Wow.
And when they saw what I had done with their uncle's property here, they called me over, and they were the next day they were going to close on the property with a developer and lawyer. They told me they were about to go next day to close the deal, but they just seen what I had done with the property here, and they have their family cemetery on their property. So they said, if you're interested in purchasing property, we will sell it to you. And, we just want to make sure some of the land, not just bulldoze everything down. So,
Mr. Spellman,
yeah.
you may have to go out and come back in because you're still cutting out.
Okay, let me try that.
Okay.
Okay.
So as Mr. Spellman's trying to get his technical difficulties, thank you, Gina. Yeah, those of you who are here, please hit the like button. If you have not already, you need to go back and watch the videos. I've taken pictures. I have other videos of his property. So initially, again, it was a slave plantation. Mr. Spellman owns his own construction business, and they were clearing some land, and that's when they came upon the slave cemetery. And we all know if some developers had purchased that land right now, of course, there would be homes or a strip mall on top of that particular property. So thank goodness he was able to acquire that property. Okay, let's see. He's going to try to come back in.
Okay. Is that better?
Let's try it again. Let's see. Okay. We're ready. We're still here.
All right. Yeah. But anyway, they asked me if I wanted the property, but and I agreed to it. We started the paperwork. We started working things out. He was only going to be here a few days, but he came to my house the house that I bought from his relatives. And he said, "Look, I've got to tell you, there's a slave grave in the back on the other 14 acres there." He said, "I
Right.
don't know exactly where it is." He said, "But he said, I'm 74, and when I was a little boy, my father took me back there and showed me there was a rock. He described it. He described a tree that was back there that had an arm on it, hanging out. And he said there's actually two trees from what he could remember. He also said that his grandfather said that when he was a little boy, he stood on the porch of the big house, which is now the Spellman house."
So initially, when you purchased the property, so folks that haven't seen the other videos, and I hope you heard what Mr. Spellman said, he was told that there was one slave grave there, correct?
Yes,
Initially,
slave grave back there somewhere.
somewhere.
So his grandfather uh, told him that when he was a little boy, that he stood on the porch and he saw a horse-drawn carriage go by the front porch with a pine box on it and black people walking behind it singing. He said they went in the back and he's not sure where they buried that last person that was supposed to have been buried on the property. So the guy that sold me the property, Mr. Wortham, he was 74, and he spent the next day about 5 hours going through the woods trying to find it, because that was one of the stipulations I gave him. I said, "Hey, you got to let me know where the slave grave is. I
Oh,
want to
wow.
sure that we don't build anything on it. I want to make sure that I'm
Right.
able to section it off so that I can honor this person that's buried back there."
Right.
And in my quest to do nature trails for my grandbabies, I already had the 2.5 acres that I had nature trails cut through, but I was joining the 14 acres. Once we closed on the property, Mr. Wortham couldn't find the graves. We closed on the property, and my I own a construction company. Some of my guys, I had them cutting trails, and they called me and said, "Hey, Ken, we found 6 of those rocks, uh, like just like you described." I came back, and there was 8 of us that was with the crew that I was working with, and we saw 6 rocks that looked just like the ones in the movies, looked just like the ones in the books,
Wow.
and we looked at each other, and we realized then that we were standing on the graves of people that had come to this country and to uh, this land as children, some of them, and they worked here just for a meal, and they died, and I was standing on the ground that they were buried on,
Right.
and it wasn't a dry eye. All my men were just in tears. One of the guys was a white gentleman. He was in tears as well.
Wow.
Because we kind of, it was chilling that we looked at each other,
Mm.
and we were looking for one rock and we saw 6.
Oh, wow.
I
And it,
did. I told my guys, I said, "Look, I want you to clear out everywhere you see rocks, clear it out. Don't cut any trees, just clear the brush.
right.
Uh, you can see the ground." About 3 days, we had discovered over 40, close to 50 stones turned up the same way. And the ground in that area, because the slaves were buried in pine boxes that weren't that durable, the ground had started to cave in. So the
Right.
ground was very unlevel in that area. You saw that yourself
I
uh,
did.
there. Unlike the family cemetery, the ground is level. They got concrete tombstones and marble headers and granite headers, but our people were identified with just a rock stuck in the ground.
With the rock. So,
Uh,
Mr. Spellman, do you so obviously I've been all throughout the property. Do you anticipate finding even more slaves buried there? Because you showed me some areas that you're still planning on clearing in the future. So do you anticipate finding any more?
yes, actually, when I let Mr. Wortham know that I had found numerous grave markers by way of rocks, he let me know. Then he said, "Well, where is it?" And when I told him, he said, "Well, that's not. I'm sure that's not the area that my father took me to, and we went over the area, and I did see a rock over there, and it's a lot of big trees, so I haven't had a chance to clear that, and I don't want to disturb the sites. So I do know that there's one other one, maybe two, that are adjacent to that, about
Wow.
yard. We haven't had a chance to clear that out. We cleared this area out that we found. I fenced it up. I didn't want to dig holes, so I took small trees that were dying, and we pulled them up and put posts in those holes. We kind of followed a natural fence by using the trees and the trees that were dying. We put posts in those, and we dedicated that to our ancestors.
So could you, yeah, and like I said, I've been there twice. It's breathtaking. Mr. Spellman, could you please expound upon the items that you guys, you and your crew found amongst the slave cemetery? Like if someone was, say, a house slave, and then of course they did the ironing, you found irons, you found other
Right.
items that indicated what that person did in life.
Yes, yes. We as we started to clear the area out, we started finding artifacts. We started finding pieces of metal. We started finding, tools, and we found an iron on one of the grave sites. We didn't know why that stuff was there, because it was on the leaves that from branches from 100 years back, and didn't know. I took one of the slave quarters, found out that the sheds that I thought were just storage sheds, they were actually slave quarters. The Historic Society, Vance County Historic Society, came out. I invited them out, and they validated that they were authentic. They were the graves. They validated that the storage buildings that were old and some of them kind of leaning, they were actually slave quarters where some of the slaves actually lived. I took one of those buildings, cut some logs, split the logs, and I reinforced the building naturally, like they were done back there in the 1800s. And I started storing the artifacts in this one building that I now call the Back to Eden Museum. And you saw there are a lot of relics and things that we found in the barns and other slave quarters and in the grave site. But when we were finding these things in the grave site, we had no idea what the meaning was. We just thought that people were throwing their old stuff back there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Anyway, but when Dr. Davis came out, the archaeologist came out about a month ago, she said that it was common with her finds that people would mark the graves because they couldn't put their names on them. They had no other way to identify their loved ones. So they would take things that they worked with. If it was a black, it might be a hammer. If it was somebody that worked in the house, like we found the iron. We found 2 irons out there that you put on the stove and heat up. We found 2 irons, and she said this might signify somebody that worked in the house.
Right.
So that added a whole new meaning to everything that I had found and that I was continuing to find. And that was just the beginning.
Right.
That was the beginning of the finds and the discoveries over the last year. And every day is something else. Before 2 weeks ago, I didn't even have any names of who might have been on the property because there were just those stones. It was validated that slaves were there. And then the Historic Society brought me newspaper articles and census reports and documents.
Oh, wow.
County that validated that there were X number of black slaves on the property in 1830. There were X number of white free people on the property in 1830.
Right.
This was all the evidence that I had besides what we were discovering.
Right.
About 3 weeks ago, there was a will that showed up from.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that from the Wortham family, where John Wortham actually willed his slaves to his wife in 1860, and it was I don't have it here with me, but it went something like this. I, John, Wortham, Will, my slave Martha, and her daughter Becky, and her son
Right.
John, son Thomas, to my wife, and then he willed several slaves to his mother-in-law, and he willed I think it was 42 slaves and
Right.
18. He willed them to his family members. So
Right.
for us to not even know that that existed, and I'm gonna go back. The person that I bought the first house from, I called him and I said, "Hey, we found slave graves back there, and your cousin said it was one, but we found numerous." And his response was, "Well, I know that my ancestors, the neighbors, had slaves." He said, "But I don't think we had slaves. We just allowed them to bury their slaves on our property."
Of course. Same old story, right? So, of course, of
You,
course.
you
Yeah,
can
of
bring
course that's what happened.
Yeah, you can bring your your old tractors and trucks,
Ooh.
put them in my backyard. That's fine. But
Um,
things were merchandise,
yeah,
and even with the will, as I looked at it, and I counted 42 people that were willed to family members. I thought about the fact that you only gonna will your best car, your Mercedes Benz, to your son, and your money to your cousin, or
right,
whatever. So these were the best slaves. These were the house slaves. These were the slaves of value that had children of
that's
value.
right.
Because old John that broke his leg last year, or that can't work in the fields as well as he could before. They're not gonna will him to anybody. They'll
No,
probably you know, and because we were considered as property. So
that's right.
that's just hardening. The more that I find out and I see with my eyes, I see that the movies don't do the reality justice. The books,
No, they
some
don't.
of them do, but most of them can't do the reality justice. When I live here on the property on this 2 acres, and then the 14 acres hold a wealth of information that
Exactly.
that I'm discovering about how our people were treated, where they lived, the living conditions,
Right.
where they had church. They had church in the slave graveyard. They had they fed the family ate first. The slave masters ate first. Then the slaves had to feed the animals, and then the slaves ate last. And a lot of times it was
Yes.
still scraps, and
Right.
it was nothing to be proud of.
Nothing to sustain them for the hard labor that they were actually involved, the physical labor they were actually involved in, the paltry, if you want to call it food, of course, that Mr. Spellman said, it was scraps. And, what Mr. Spellman was talking about so far as the wheels, I have pictures of that. I'm going to get that uploaded. Remember, I took pictures of all that yesterday. So, Mr. Spellman, one question that I have, and those of you who have questions, just type them in the chat section. Um, what large media outlets have contacted you after this particular find on your property?
Oh, ABC 11. Of course, the local newspapers have done
Right.
6 articles over the last 2 months, and ABC 11 in Raleigh did a report on the finds. They did a part 1 and a part 2 the next day. They're working on part 3 and part 4.
Okay.
The National Geographic actually contacted the reporter, Keila Davis,
Okay.
that was the anchor that so graciously came out and spent a lot of time over the last 2 months.
Wow.
She didn't want to rush through it. She didn't
Right.
want to downplay it. I mean,
Right.
she made it clear that she wanted the facts. She contacted the Historic Society, had them come back out and talk to her. She contacted Dr. Davis,
Right.
archaeologist, sat down and talked to her, and she did an outstanding job. But through her, National Geographic contacted her to
Okay.
try to get my information to set something up. The Atlanta Black Star
Okay.
contacted me as well. I did a 2-hour interview with them over the phone, so we're going to be doing some things there.
Okay.
And we talked about ABC is an affiliate. Well, their parent company is Walt Disney. So
What
we've
did?
talked
Yeah.
some about maybe doing a movie and a larger documentary. So there's been some
Wow.
talk like that. Uh, but I'm just grateful that I was blessed to be able to be a part of this and actually preserve our heritage, because 2 weeks later it would have been probably been sold to a developer that would have just bulldozed
Exactly. You're exactly right.
all these fines.
Yes.
Uh,
Question for you. So, with all the things that you're finding on your property, archaeologists going to be contacting you. Are you going to allow them to excavate the property, or are you still on the fence about that? Because
I'm,
they would love to.
yeah,
That's a treasure trove for them.
yeah, I'm on the fence about it.
Okay.
Um, this is fascinating to me from a different standpoint. You know,
Right.
I did 19 years in prison, and I'm going to say that it was an injustice, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But
Okay.
during 19 years, I had an opportunity to, to go over my history, my past,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and some of the things that our young people, especially African American young people, don't get to be blessed with, like
Hmm.
having
Yeah.
household,
Right.
or having the uncle that tells you to pull your pants up and turn your head around straight and look me in the eye when you're speaking.
Right.
While I was there, I was really bitter at first, and when I realized that so many young people did not have high expectations of them to
Right.
perform, to function in society, and they have not been taught because that uncle is not in the community, that father is not in the community.
Exactly.
I became that to a lot of young men in there, and I
Okay.
started documenting some of the troubles and some of the concerns they had with life. And one of
Right.
the things was their communication. They didn't know how to speak and look you in the eye. They had a poor retention. They had poor retention. You could talk to them, and they were so
Right.
used to media uh,
Right.
that
So
they
communicating.
retain information. So I started working with them and documenting the results of what I found out from talking to them and finding out what they needed. And I wrote a effective listening session for them. And I started
Okay.
writing so I could remember what I talked to the last guy about.
Right.
And a lot of these young men stopped getting in trouble. They stopped going to segregation, and they started gathering around to find out about how to listen, how to speak, how to do a business plan, how to fill out an application. And what started off as me talking to two or three men, it ended up over 100 men at picnic tables on the yard.
Wow.
I had built 27 businesses prior to prison. I had also done research for Quasi Corporation, which was a merger between Lone Star Industries and Shell Oil Company in Houston.
Wow.
Uh, Coached gymnastics, prepared some girls in the late '80s to go to a junior Olympic trial. So I had a lot of experience dealing with people, and I took that instead of being bitter. I just allowed it to make me and some other people better, and I used that experience to start writing a curriculum for these young men.
Oh yes.
Some of the institutions were really threatened by it. The
Oh
fact
yeah.
I could go on the yard and it would be blacks, whites, Hispanic. It would be the Christians, the Catholic, the Moore Science Temple, the non-believers, the Bloods, the Crips, Aryan Nation. All of us, 120, 130 guys on the yard, and we're talking about how we can be better now. And then I had
Right.
curriculum that I was able to teach from, and um, most of the officers were really concerned because they felt with this much influence that I may be able to take over the prison. So they locked me up about 6 times as a security threat. Uh,
Oh no.
but some of the officers saw the benefits of what I was working with, and I was writing on napkins, paper bags, the back of my hand, and I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and lay these sheets of paper out and I get my Bible and I would find answers and resolve to some of the concerns of our people and other people. And 1,475 men actually graduated when we did officially get a curriculum, had it typed up.
Wow.
But the adversary was still in my last one of the last institutions that I was at. They allowed me to teach the program, and we had 126 men registered. They thought it was going to be 10 or 15 guys, but it had more participation than NA, more participation than AA, more participation than the church services, and that's where they get their money. When the inmates sign up for classes, they get money. So they wanted me to sign the program to them. And they called me in and said, hey, we want you to sign the program over. We got people sending you money from the outside. What are you doing? Extorting them? And that wasn't the case. These men were getting out. They were grateful. Their families were grateful. They wanted to make sure that while I was in there, I could continue to work with young men. So I could see the similarities in being in prisons and still doing something right, and then being punished for doing something right, because they locked me in a 6x9 cell for 6 days the first time. Then the second time they put me in a 6x9 cell for 12 days, and then 14 days, then 32 days. Then I went to another institution that allowed me to teach it, but I didn't sign it over to them or give it to them to get money off of. They locked me 60 days. And they would come by and say, hey, you ready to get out? You ready to do what, we want you to do? And I said, no, I'm good. And God was allowing me to revise the program. The program is MEAT, MEAT. The M is dual meaning, ministry and management. The E is entrepreneurship. The A is accountability. And the T is training. The ministry, people thought that was trying to convert people into Christianity, but no, that's ministry is the act of serving. The management is managing while you are in here, dealing with your family, writing your kids. The E is entrepreneurship, not a businessman, but a self-starter. Be the one that makes the decision. If you got a job and you're only making $1 a day, treat it like you're making $1,000.
That's right.
And this is what I taught. And once we got the program typed up, we had some support from some staff. When I went on work release in 2017, I was able to have it typed up, and prominent pastors in the country found out about it. I was going out on work release, so it was registered in the Library of Congress in 2018, the MEAT program. So we'll talk a little more about that. But I traveled all over the country talking about the program, talking about how we can help the recidivism rate to go down. And now we have the Spellman House and the slave plantation, and this to add to all the other blessings that God has bestowed for some of the injustice that I saw. But what about our ancestors? The only resolve that I can give them is to preserve where they lay now, to make sure that
exactly
about what they went through.
Right. And Mr. Spellman, so in the chat section, so you're wowing the people in the chat section. And I Love Weed said, from prison to having your own company, hands up. I Love Weed also said, never been to prison. If I were, wish this guy was my cellmate. So, and also the important thing, folks, is that Mr. Spellman hires some of these guys who goes through the program. So, because we hear that, once you serve your time, exactly, Sugar Daddy, Mr. Spellman's a teacher as well. So, once you serve your time, what are you told? You've served your debt to society. But if you're a person of color and your parents or your parents' friends don't own businesses, and all of us have seen this. I've worked with a teacher that went to jail. Okay. He used to work with us, and, he was in jail for a few years. Now he's out doing fine because, he was able to get a job because of the connections that they have. So they get a second chance. We don't. So I think that's very important, that he's giving people jobs. Because if you don't give someone a job, they're going to revert right back to their life of crime. And we know the situation. It's organized slavery. That's all prison is. And so you don't have a job. What are you going to do? How are you going to survive and take care of your family? Chef Finest Wine, he said, awesome. This is great. Um, Janice, we need more men like Mr. Spellman in our community now. The teenagers have lost respect for themselves and their elders. You're exactly right, Janice. As I told you, most of the people in my chat are demographics are older, so that's why we have such intelligent conversations. Uh,
Awesome. Awesome.
Right. And they're saying the same thing that you and me, we've had some discussions, and we're all singing the same song. And so, what I wanted, another important thing that Mr. Spellman is doing is, and I went there, like I said, you guys that haven't seen the videos, and I have pictures of, right, Gina Thorne, and I have pictures of the bill of sales that he's talking about. But if you, I have like 3 or 4 videos already of his place back to Eden, also known as, or AKA, the Spellman House. Okay, and those of you who came in late, the original property owners, the masters were the Worthams. So I wanted to share that with you if you came in a little bit late, so you know we've gone from the Worthams to Mr. Spellman. Okay, so this is great. Mr. Spellman, are you thinking about writing a biography? Where are you with that? Because this story is groundbreaking. It
Well,
changed someone's life.
well, when Akila Davis came out to do the initial interview, we talked on the phone, and we talked on a Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
Well, maybe we'll come out and we'll take some pictures. We'll talk. But she came out on a Sunday afternoon, and said she had about 30 minutes. She spent 3 hours talking to us. When she saw what you saw yesterday, and she saw the letters from the men that were incarcerated, she saw the letters from their family members. She saw that there was more than one component to this story. And
Right.
only was it the slave grave site, the slave houses, the master's house that is amazing. It's still got wood and furniture from the 18th.
Yes.
I bought when I bought the property. I bought it at the auction when they auctioned it off, and so there was so many components that she said, "Look, we can't do. I
Hmm.
can't in the morning and show it in the evening." She said, "I've got to get permission to do more than this. I can't do an injustice to our ancestors. So what are you?"
Right.
What I went through. I did 19 years, and I got out September 20th, 2019. When I got out September 20th, 2019, they gave me a $45 gate check. But they also told me I owed the state $52,000 restitution.
Whoa.
And right now, my 3-year anniversary was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever September 20th was. But right now, I owe the state nothing. I own my own construction company. I bought 19 properties in the last 3 years, and I've got
Wow.
12 full-time, 5 part-time. I've got been blessed with. I don't have anything. I'm a steward over God's stuff. And with this site that we have, we named it Back to Eden because it was a place of distress and heartache and heartbreak. But now it's a fun place. We got 7 swing sets here. We got trampolines. We got zip lines for kids, zip lines for adults. 12 acres of picnic tables that we cut through with picnic tables and fire pits,
Beautiful.
walking trails. We've got 3 gardens. I got chickens. I wanted just a couple of chickens. I got chickens that lay about a dozen eggs every 3 days. We got apple trees and pear trees and grape vines and fig trees. And
Right.
so it's so much to it. And I was talking to you yesterday
Yep.
about a biography, and I was locked up 19 years. So the technology, it's probably why my sound was not working, because it was probably my fault.
That's
But,
okay. It's working now.
but yeah, am open to a biography, autobiography. I'm open to that, and I would welcome somebody to take this or talk to somebody and come see me. We'll talk.
Okay, you heard that in the chat section. If I have any publishers that are listening, I love Weed said, I know who can play his part in the movie, Samuel L. Jackson. Woo! Oh wow! So if anyone, again, like those of you who came in late, this facility, this property is in Henderson, North Carolina, right off Highway 85. So if you look at the other videos, you hear the cars in the background. That's because Highway 85 is directly behind this property. So if anyone wanted to come out, what would they do? Would they go online, or do
well,
they call you and set it up?
well, they can call me or my secretary Jennifer, and she will set up tours. I do the tours now. I host the tours because I have the history, and I'm learning more and more every day.
Every day.
So I know about everything that's here. So I pretty much do the tours, and my daughter and my secretary are working on some things because we got people that are coming. The underground Halifax Underground Railroad is coming next Thursday, and they want
where are they coming from?
Halifax, Virginia.
Halifax, Virginia, folks. So now Mr. Spellman is being contacted. What is the Underground Railroad Society?
Yes, it is, and they came. They actually came to Durham a week ago for some other business and wanted to come by, but I couldn't break away from my work schedule at the time.
Okay.
But we can, and I did, as you know, when you were leaving, I did 2 tours yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a fee set on the tours, but people are, making donations.
Donations, okay.
Yeah, because what I do is I work with the foster care system. One of the people that's been in the foster care system for a long time. We allow foster kids to come out and bring their biological siblings from different families so that they can have birthday parties and celebrations. They get a chance to spend time with each other here. So we're able to take the donations and we're able to buy hot dogs and drinks and things for them. So right now there's not a fee on the tours, but we appreciate and welcome donations that we can continue to do things for our people and for other people and do things in the community. Last month we had a 70 and over celebration where we had 70-year-olds come in and we gave them roses, gave the women roses, gave the men gifts. We had door prizes. Lowe's donated a gas grill and different businesses.
Wow.
Yes, we had Mary Kay, Mary Kay's representative donated cosmetics to the women, and we just showered them with gifts. A month before that, we had a Millennials Matter event. We had 135 millennials come out. We had praise singing, and we had young entrepreneurs speaking. We had college basketball players come out. We did a back to school giveaway several weeks ago. And so we continue to try to do things in the community to make this a place that people can come. And the kids don't even pick up laptops and cell phones. When they come here, we've got old school tire swings. We got tire swings in the trees, but we also have the state-of-the-art swing sets as well, with all the
That's
stuff.
right. They have it all. I've been there twice. They have it all.
Yes, and our nature trails are just beautiful. It's fall, the leaves are falling. Got our fire pits out, our picnic tables, and we got a pond. It's stocked with fish. We got ducks and geese, and we had fun feeding the geese yesterday.
That's right. That's in the video too. And just so you know, folks, I told Mr. Spellman yesterday. So last week when I was there, I didn't want to leave. So yesterday I told him I was going to refuse to leave and he was going to have to call the police and have me physically removed from the property because I did not want to leave because it's named Back to Eden. And I said it should be. It's like heaven. It's just so, peaceful and serene. Even with 85 in the background, it's a large property, lots of woods, fresh air. Again, he has the picnic tables, the all the swing sets and everything else that children love. It's just a beautiful place. Again, the origin of the property was a place of sadness and mourning, and so he's totally changed the narrative for that particular property. So, hey, kudos to you. What did they say? Okay, so Sugar Daddy said D.L. Hughley was what he was thinking to play you in the movie. So, oh my God, they have some great comments in here.
Right, he's Elba.
Yes, yes. So, I love we said I'll pitch in to bail you out. LOL. Okay. So yeah. So Mr. Spellman, I know you're busy, but I just wanted to thank you for opening up your property, letting me come out, video, talk to you, all the artifacts that you shared. Again, that's what I love doing. And so just keep doing what you're doing. You're probably going to be hearing from some more media outlets. And again, those of you, if you look at the bottom of the video in the description box, all the videos I have, I think I've uploaded 3 or 4 videos. So the original ABC 11 video he did with Akilla Davis.
Yes.
It's already up under this video, and it's up under all of the others as well. So check those out and see what you think. If you love history, he's doing an excellent thing for the ancestors, and I absolutely love it. And I thank him for opening up his home. I thank him for taking time to come. Thank you, Chef Finest Wine said, great job to both of us. Thank you, VT Lions Pride. So thank you for everything, and just keep doing what you're doing. And thank you, Primetime Phil. And we won't. I told him, guys. I told him that I'll probably be going back. So, yeah, I love weed. Said awesome guest, great show, TV, Miss Rolynn and Mr. Kid. Thank you. I love weed.
Wow.
So, yes, we thank you.
This afternoon, well, and I go to Virginia next week to speak. I go to Atlanta in a couple of weeks to speak at a college there.
Wow.
On schedule for Mississippi, Atlanta, and New York.
So I don't know.
We'll come out and I'll talk to you young people. I got a word for the young men.
They need it.
Yeah, I've got a word. I mean, I sit before God for 16 of those 19 years.
Oh, wow.
Told my story. And I've got a word that I'm not the smartest, and I don't know everything, but I know everything about what I know. I know that God had me in a place that he could educate me on people, mankind, and how to stand tall in your shoes. And
exactly.
Everybody that's listening, stand tall in your shoes. Don't be afraid of challenges. Don't be afraid of next step and next level. Next level is destined for our people, and for all people, but especially our people. And when I look at the different tools that our people made, some of those are in my museum, and I look at the way that they survived under that adversity, and I wrote that pressure perfects precious stones, and adversity perfects man if you allow it to. So continue through your pressure, your adversity, continue to be perfected in what God wants you to be and has designed us to be. That's
exactly. And Kiki Beauty says, thank you, Mr. Spellman. You are an inspiration to all, including the younger generation. So everyone enjoyed the show. And so again, Mr. Spellman's busy, so I don't want to hold him too much longer. He has all these places that he needs to travel to, but we do thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule.
Welcome.
And thank everyone in the chat section. Thank you for spending your very valuable time with us here at the Rolynn's Reviews YouTube channel. And we'll see you again next Sunday, 4:00 p.m.
Rolynn.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spellman, for everything.
Okay.
And the muscadines. I'm coming for some more muscadines.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.